This is video 11 for geometry, and we're going to be introducing transformations and really diving into reflections and translations. So first of all, what are transformations? Well, it's just a change in position, size, or shape of a figure. So they can be changing in a left to right direction, up or down. We could make it bigger, smaller. We could flip them, but those are transformations. And rigid motions are what we're going to be looking at in these videos, where the length and the angle stay the same. So that would be reflections, translations, and rotations, but not dilations. Dilations actually change the shape. It makes it from bigger to smaller or vice versa. If you ever go to the eye doctor and get your eyes dilated, your pupils become really, really big. And so it's the changing of shape. So we're going to be looking at reflections first, and it's a transformation across a line of reflection. And we a lot of times call that a flip. All right, and so if this blue figure, ABC, is my first figure, and I flip it over this line, it now becomes A prime, B prime, and C prime. And that's how we say those letters. So kind of diving into this a little bit more, we've got a pre-image and an image. So a pre-image is our original image. It's where we're starting. And we just call that like ABC or whatever our figure is named. But it's our original. The image is our result. So after I flip it over this line of reflection, I get new points. Now we can't just call them ABC again, because then we'd get really confused and we wouldn't really know which was our pre-image and which was our image. So that's why we put this little apostrophe, and that is just, we call that a prime. So we have A prime, B prime, and C prime. Now something to remember is our pre-image and our image are the same distance from this line of reflection. So I can see C is 2 units from my line, and C prime is also 2 units from that line. All right, and then whenever we connect points, so if we connect A to A prime, C to C prime, it's going to make a perpendicular line with that line of reflection. And so when we write this, I could say my triangle ABC has translated or has reflected now to triangle A prime, B prime, C prime. Okay, and so we can say A maps to A prime, and you can say B maps to B prime, and etc. All right, so when we graph reflections, if we graph, if our line of reflection is the x-axis, we multiply our y-coordinate by -1. So to graph this over our x-axis, my new point would be down here. Okay, I just simply change my y value to negative. If I wanted to reflect over the y-axis, I change my x value and I multiply that by a -1. So my new point would be over here. Okay, and reflections, again, those are equal distance from the line of reflection. And another common line of reflection is the line y equals x, and that actually just flip-flops our points. So if I wanted to reflect this triangle ABC over the line y equals x, well, first let's draw that line just so we are familiar with what that looks like. We'll just do a dotted line. All right, and so for this, we're going to flip-flop our x and y points. So this A point is -1, +4. All right, so now it's going to be +4, -1. So this would be A prime. my b function, or my b value is 2, 3. Well, now it's going to be 3, 2. And my c value is 0, 2, so now it'll be 2, 0. So I have the same exact shape, I've just flipped it over that line. All right, so then if we were going to reflect this shape, and let's go ahead and give this some letters to label it. We'll call it A, B, C, and D. So first it wants us to reflect over the x-axis. So we just are going to flip it over. So I see like my point C is 1 space away from my line of reflection. So it's going to be 1 space away over here. Same with D. My A is 1, 2, 3, and over. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and this would be A prime. Here is my B prime. All right, now this also asks us to reflect over our y-axis. So that means I'm going to reflect it going towards the left over that line. Now I can't call these A prime again because that was our first reflection. So we're actually going to call these double prime. So we'll just put 2 apostrophes when we graph this. Okay, and now is a great time to kind of pause the video, try to reflect it on your own. And these are double primes. All right. Okay, so that was our reflections. Now we're going to move into translations. We move these, they're just moved in the same direction, the same distance. In elementary school, you guys called this a slide. So we're just going to slide to the left, slide to the right. When we translate a point, we add that h and k value to our x and y value. So we're just adding to our ordered pairs to figure out our new value. So if I want to move it to the left 7 and up 2, we add 7 and 2 to my x and y values. All right, so we're going to translate this quadrilateral, and here are the point values for A, B, C, and D, and we're going to move this to the left, 2 to the left and 1 down. So when you're dealing with a graph, it's very easy. You can just move each point as you go. So I can move my my A value 2 to the left and 1 down. This becomes A prime. Now I can just, from the point, I can subtract 2 and subtract 1. So I know my new point is -4, -2. That's what my A prime value is. And I can just do this with every point. All right, and so that is my new figure. And I could write out every single one of my new values, but most of the time it's not necessary. Now with translations, we have vectors, and vectors tell us how far our image moves up, down, left, or right. All vectors are parallel and congruent, and this is how we write vectors. It's like we use parentheses, but they are pointed, okay? And that shows us that we have a vector, all right? And so if we were this vector 7, -4, is going to mean to the right 7 and down 4. And so we would take our x values and we'd move them left and right, however many, and up or down how many. So our first part of our vector deals with our x, our second deals with our y. All right, and that's just looking at our vectors and translations. Translations are a little bit more straightforward than reflections. Those are a little more difficult. So this video we're looking again, translations, moving those to the left, right, up and down, and reflections where we actually flip our figure over a line.